Hello and welcome to a brand new week at the Holistic Business and Life Mastery Show. I'm your show host Supriya Roy, and today we're talking about the perfect delivery formula. Now, perfect delivery of what, you might be asking? Any kind of presentation. Anytime you are presenting an idea to a person or a bunch of people, there is a delivery formula, and if you follow that, I am going to guarantee you that people are going to understand and follow through on whatever it is that you ask them to do. Following me? Could this be of value to you? Now I'm going to show you my perfect delivery formula without you having to be attending a course on how to deliver a presentation, without you being the best speaker on earth, and you don't have to be extremely experienced in speaking or doing presentations or anything. Now, you might be thinking, what makes you a pro at this? Well, if in case you're tuning in, quite a new person in our community, well, I have been teaching for a long time. I've been teaching yoga, Ayurveda, and from becoming a teacher, a healer, then becoming a mentor and a trainer, I learned how to upskill myself to be able to communicate ideas clearly and also achieve the business results that I needed from them. So I look at presentations a little bit differently to what I was initially taught now, because as a business owner, anytime we're communicating things to our audience, we're actually thinking of two things. Number one is it going to add value to them? Okay. And number two is, how can I help, inspire, and guide the listener to grow, to take action from what I'm saying? Feeling me? So this is the difference between just teaching and not really caring about how much they retain, what they do with it, to actually saying things that matter and that they can actually go utilize for their own benefit. So today I want to share with you this 3-step formula that I've been using. I developed this system based on my experiences and also all sorts of training I've actually gone and gotten. I invested in myself along my journey to get upskilled, to be able to think like this, to be able to show up like this, where I completely detach myself from it. I completely become someone that is there to serve you, serve my listener, serve my students, serve my audience. And therefore, today, I want you to also start thinking about your journey as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur or a business service provider. Okay, thinking about your day-to-day processes. How many times do you communicate? How many times do you do presentations, say weekly, monthly, quarterly? Okay, and if you're not doing them, do you know how much business you're leaving on the table? So there's an essential skill that you have to develop if you want to increase your income, if you want to become more proficient at being a better communicator, and if you want to do what I just said, if you want people to actually do something with the information you give them, then this is a formula I want you to think about using. One of the most important reasons I'm sharing this on our channel in our podcast community is many of you are my clients, but many of you aren't. And the value I want to share here with you, those of you that aren't, is that I want you to understand this journey that you're on currently is a journey of self-development as well as business development. You may or may not have a business yet, okay? you may be in training still, and you may also be working for other people, doing what you love doing and using your skills that you're learning through your education. So wherever you are on your journey, I want you to start thinking like this wherever you are, that whenever I present my ideas, I am doing two things. One is I'm going to share things that are of value to this person, and I'm also wanting, my intention is for them to develop or to take action so that they can better their lives with what I just shared. Is that clear? Cool. Now, let's go into where all of this is coming from, okay? When we look at the way humans learn, the way we learn is we use filters, okay? Some of us are learning through visual cues, like we look and we like to see visual pictures, demonstrations, and looking at the person's face, the body language, right? Then some people are more kinesthetic. They like to feel things. So even if we are talking like this, if I get you to write something down, then you are doing something with the information. So you're writing this down and you're learning through writing it down. So you might notice, if you're an educator or a teacher, you might notice there's a lot of students of yours that just take notes. Yes, there is a scientific reason and benefit to writing things down, but you'll start to see that there are many people that learn like this and they have this habit of writing things down. Cool? And then there are people that are more auditory, meaning they listen. So podcast is a great medium, or audio files is a great medium, or apps that they can listen to is a good way for them to absorb the information. On my journey through teaching yoga, I became familiar with how to be more effective in the way I taught. As far as demonstration went, I would only demonstrate, and this is using my teaching system, I only demonstrate when necessary. Otherwise, what I always promoted among my students is, yes, we have our learning style preferences, which is the auditory, kinesthetic, or visual. However, when you are a practitioner of yoga, meditation, and practices such as those, the mind-body practices, you have the ability to actually start rewiring yourself and overcome the obstacles that come in between you and the learning because of, maybe some barriers that are mental more than actual capabilities that you already have. So what I mean by this is, instead of always demonstrating for the visual people, some people would say, "Oh, Supriya, can you please do it so I can see it and do it?" And I would refuse. I would say, well, right now you're actually developing what you're not so comfortable with. So it's all right if you make mistakes. Just keep following the instructions. You'll be okay. Whenever you're unsure, just don't do anything that will put you in danger and just keep following. So as an educator, as I could guide my students to overcome these barriers. But when we're talking about doing normal presentations, just know that this is the way people learn. And where I got this from is through learning systems. If you look up the learning systems, the learning strategies, adult learning strategies, this is the way adults learn. And what do we mean by learning? Learning is true, right? Learning is actually happening when someone actually does something with that information. When I say does something with that information, what I mean by this is, look, you're listening to this podcast, you might be watching it or you might be listening to it, and you may not do anything with what I share with you. You may not even use this perfect delivery formula. So then that's not really learning. However, if you wrote the formula down and you shared it with somebody else, then it becomes learning. Or you wrote it down in a blog and you shared it, you're passing this information on in a way, you're educating it through your own application, then it becomes yours. So learning in a cognitive way, right? In actuality, learning is not just knowledge, but it's applied knowledge. We've got to use the information to make it our own, to actually say, yes, we have learned it. So as long as we're clear about that, now I'm going to share with you exactly how to do this as a presenter so that you can show up as your best self. And this information, whatever you're going to share in your in your presentation, it is going to be of great value to the listener, and you're also going to make sure that they do something with it. This 3-step formula is really simple. You can write it down. Step number 1 is use a system. Step number 2, always prepare. And step number 3 is rehearsing. Okay? Now, sometimes when you think about these 3 steps, you might think, well, it's got nothing to do with the learners. It's got everything to do with the learners. Something I didn't share with you earlier is when someone is trying to learn something from you, be it about your product, your course, your offers, your services, your ideas, the first thing they do is they are emotionally feeling where they're at with you. Okay? So when we look at understanding our audience, if we want to really have a great delivery, we really need to have a good understanding of what our audience is doing for us to even deliver this to them. So follow me here, don't drop out. Trust me, I'm taking you somewhere interesting. So before we even tune in, we are instinctively looking for resonance. In marketing language, this is called know, like, trust factor. So you might be watching this on YouTube, or you might be listening to this on a podcast platform. Okay? No matter what you're doing, you are tuning in even before you commit yourself to listening to the whole episode. You've already tuned in to what I have shared in the heading, and also exactly how I've been presenting things so far. Not on an intellectual level, rather on a visceral level. You're feeling either repelled, or you're feeling like, okay, there's some resonance here, there's a structure that I can trust, and I'm liking what I'm hearing. Let me hear more. Cool? This is what we call the effect of a good delivery system. And it's not happening by accident, because I'm currently following that 3-step formula. So I'm following a system. I'm following a system of delivering the information I'm delivering. And that system is called format. You can look this up. Prime ministers use it. All sorts of speakers use it. And even the way you write a piece of content, you use it. Okay? But making it conscious makes it a part of a process that you would always follow in order to have a good delivery outcome. So step number 1 is follow a system. If you're going to present anything, follow format. When people don't follow format, or they don't follow a system with which they are delivering their content, what tends to happen is everything gets scattered the information doesn't land with the listener or the student or the recipient. And there's a big disconnect from the emotional level. So a lot of trust and rapport and rhythm and cadence is lost. And then, there's really just this one-way conversation happening. So in my speaking skills training, I actually help people to implement the 4-step format as a system to deliver information no matter what the topic. I also train people to be yoga teachers and Ayurveda practitioners. And in both roles, they have to do presentations, they have to do classes, they have to present ideas. Okay? And how I teach them to do this is always follow a system. Now, is it always format? No. Because there's different systems for different things. Like for instance, there is this business owner that I'm currently training to present to a network partner how they could collaborate with each other. Okay, because they have an idea to run a retreat and they want the retreat center to collaborate with them. And I want them to present their idea in a way that the retreat center can collaborate with them. The system that they're going to use for that is a structured way of communicating exactly what they need in order for the other party to comment, respond, and actually get back to them on, not just read and put it in the bin. Have you ever sent a proposal or a request where you never heard back from someone? And that's because there was no system in place. So, like presentations, there's different kinds of presentations. There's different kinds of communication. And we will always need a system in place for us to follow so that the content that we curate for that piece of communication is structured in such a way that the other party can respond to it. One last example of this is that I can think of right now is this podcast. Okay? When I create a podcast, meaning this is a creation, I'm recording it, this is the creation part, but I've actually done preparation for it, which is I've thought about what to use inside the system that I have created this podcast content with. So for you, you're my audience. I've thought about you. I want you to do something with this information, and that's exactly how I'm presenting this information. Currently, right now in that system, I'm giving you the step-by-step instructions on how to have a good delivery. Okay? So wherever you are, you've got to have a system. If you're trying to create an outcome, you've got to have a system in place. For us, if we work together in the business programs that we host, well, inside there, you will learn how to create marketing systems, you will create your sales system, you will create your customer journey system, so that it's all systemized to get an outcome. Cool? So that you're not constantly having to think of new things and new ways to structure things, and it just cuts out a lot of work. So it almost now, for me, now it feels like fill in the blanks. And that can become your thing too. So step number 1, we just talked about it, and that is following a system that produces the outcome you're looking for. Now, step number 2 is preparation. When we talk about preparation, what I don't mean is you just day in and day out worrying and, thinking that, well, what if I fail? What if I do this? What if I do that? Instead, a preparation method, thinking of it as perhaps there are certain things that you yourself know that will happen with you, such as myself. before I do podcasts, okay, I need to feel positively charged. Otherwise, my voice gets tired, my body gets rigid, words don't flow. As you can see, I don't really carry any notes. It's just like I've got the bullet points there and I'm just looking and free extemporaneously speaking to these points because I'm following a structure, though I have prepared myself based on what I know I will expect. So one such thing is dry throat, feeling rigid, and all sorts of lack of energy flow. I know that's what I expect from me. And if you're looking at it through my Ayurvedic lens, then, especially in winter, especially in summer, these are the two peak times of the year where I'm prone to doing that. So I will hydrate myself. I will choose a day to record where I'm feeling nice and energized. And I'll also, skip those times where I'm too mentally, busy and hectic. I will do it at a time where I'm just feeling like a whole body, I'm ready to give that. On another note, if I have a trainee that is struggling to deliver a class or a session without, like some of the things that people that are beginning on their journey do is they fill up their time with the client by doing small talk or just continuing to talk and not really giving any silent space, or they don't realize that they're actually picking their nails or really taking a bad posture or doing things with their body that's coming out of stress, but it's out of their awareness until, of course, someone points it out to them or they become aware of it. These are the things that we can actually take care of before we do the presentation. So before you even speak or present or show up to work with others, we do a whole list of things that we know is going to happen, and we kind of go through each one and then give ourselves some remedies for it. Cool. So, for example, if you're a yoga teacher and you find yourself not remembering instructions, and this is going to happen in every class, you might forget complete sequences. You need to remember that happens for you, and what you need to do is give yourself a solution for it. Of course, the basic solution that I always recommend for yoga teachers is actually have your notebook with all the poses written down, all the sequence written down. Script it. And follow that script. Take that script with you. No one's going to judge you. It's actually going to make your life and everybody else's life better. Everybody else will experience you in a better way. Right? What's another preparation? If you think about you doing a speech or a presentation on a stage, you know what happens on a stage? If the stage is higher than everybody, you really feel very different. Okay, it's very different to speaking like this on a camera to whoever is behind it. So in my personal and professional experience, when I'm on a stage, I know I need to feel really grounded in my legs, okay? And I know my posture is everything. And I know that I tend to have blurry vision and I tend to slur if I get nervous. I know these symptoms. And I also know from experience that if I am going to have to read everything off the piece of paper, I will lose it. That as soon as I find that I didn't read a line or I missed something, then I know I'm going to lose it. So I know myself. I know my, shortcomings in these ways. I know these are going to make me trip. So I make a list of things whenever I'm going into doing a presentation of a certain kind. That preparation comes from experience, but also just going through the checklist of things that need to happen. And also then creating a plan for myself. How can I prepare myself? So anytime I go on stage, I will practice a vinyasa class. Like I will practice something that will help me ground myself. I will stand bare feet or flat feet on the stage. Right now, actually, I love wearing heels on stage. It gives me more power and I love being in that place. But before, I used to love being bare feet. And I like to be warm. I cannot be cold, I know this. And I also stay hydrated. And I sing a little bit before coming out. The reason for myself is that preparation, it really opens my channels and I feel really expanded. I smile. I make myself a little note to say smile. Okay, these are the things that are strategic for me as a preparation. Because once you're there, if you don't have it in front of you, if you don't create those little steps, then you're going to forget it. And you're not going to overcome them. Right? So that's what I mean by preparation. So what it really looks like is you already know what's going to happen. Let's prepare for it. It's kind of working with forethought. So thinking ahead. And this thinking ahead goes such a long way. When you're doing a sales call, okay, preparation is everything. How do you prepare for a sales call? So in our program, we prepare you with looking at what sort of resistance might the customer come with or have to working with you. In other words, what sort of objections do you feel like your customer might have? And we work through sales objections, so then when they come up, it's really easy for us to respond and not freak out going, oh my God, they're not liking my presentation, they don't want my stuff. And instead of doing that, we again come from a place of a leadership, and really show up for the customer because we've prepared, we've already seen this happen and we're just, showing up. So it goes a very long way when we prepare and it shows that we actually care about what we're doing, right? And the way we're showing up. So part of the sales call preparation at all times is anytime you get on the phone or get in front of a person, you must have taken care of your own little, trip ups. If you think that you're going to start sweating in your palms, or you're going to start getting jittery, or you're going to get dry throat or getting stiff, prepare your body, mind, your speech. Preparing means you are acknowledging those things that are going to happen and you're going to give yourself some solutions, strategies, steps to follow so that you can show up as your best self for the person or the people. Cool. So that was step number 2. I could go on and on about this preparation piece because there's preparation for different scenarios, but in a holistic wellness business or a holistic wellness practice, these are the places that we really need to prepare. We do find that a lot of new holistic professionals, they've never received this sort of guidance, and I hadn't received this sort of guidance either. So I did my best. At the very beginning, I used to pick up the phone, did my best, put my best foot forward, but a lot of sales were missed because I didn't have a strategy in place, didn't have a system in place, I didn't have a preparation done to handle those calls, and therefore lost a lot of business. Similar things have happened in personal conversations or out when I go networking. I miss out on opportunities because I never prepared how to handle what might show up and what might show up for me. It's not really something that something that non-entrepreneurs think about. So it's not these are not concepts you will learn from your, holistic science mentor. They're not thinking like this. They're there to build your skill, to do the work, do the job. But this is a different business skill. This is a different presentation skill. This is how to be a better trainer, educator, communicator, salesperson, marketer. How to be a better delivery person, right? You're delivering an outcome. Third step is rehearsal. Okay. Now this is something that might trip you up just thinking about it, thinking, well, what do you mean rehearsal? Supriya, it doesn't look like you rehearsed before you got here today on this podcast. Yeah, you can say that. But let's talk about what rehearsal can be. Okay, rehearsal is another way of saying that you kind of walk yourself through the experience of having done it before you do it. I rehearse my day the day before. Are you hearing that? And this is sort of the law of attraction 10x. So if you want to have great days, if you want to have great outcomes, this is a powerful practice where you guide yourself through what's about to happen. You're scripting your whole day, you're scripting your presentation, you're scripting your experience, you're scripting yourself to have an outcome. And the scripting is not writing it word for word. If you want to, you can. Though, for the podcast, I scripted it. Okay, I'm going to do this at this time of the day. I'm going to feel like this. The intention I'm going to come with is going to go like this. Okay, and the way I'm going to feel afterwards is like this. Then I close my eyes. Okay, and actually visualize it. And on good days, I'm actually feeling it as well. So in my mind's eye, I've already done it. A very powerful rehearsal for, say, something more high risk, such as maybe you're doing a performance on stage, or you're going to go and play your best game, or you're going to go on a date and ask that person out, or you're going to do a presentation of your idea in front of investors or, high value clients. This is where your preparation list, you would get a chance to rehearse those trip up moments and then correct them in your rehearsal. You're going to take your time and walk yourself through the scenario, scene by scene, and you're going to talk yourself through, if the mistake happens, then I do this. Then I move forward. If that other thing happens, then I do that. Okay, and in human behavior, this is called utilization. So in your visualization, in your rehearsal, you're really utilizing your preparation to work for you instead of letting it take over you. This is why whenever you hear me speak or you listen to me or watch me, I am no way perfect. I already know this. I've already walked myself through this experience. So I'm comfortable with making the mistakes that I make, and it doesn't trip me up. It doesn't cancel my recording, right? Otherwise, can you imagine how hard my life would be? Like cut, play, cut, record. So editing is the worst job on earth, I think, but it's not something that's a good practice. Try to get it done all at once. Try to do it all at once. And what do we mean by try to get it done all at once? And it's good delivery. When you do an assignment, when you do a paper, when you do an article, when you do something, if you follow these 3 steps, follow a system, prepare, and rehearse, you know what? You've got all the readiness in the world to get the outcome that you want from your delivery. So, ideally, in your rehearsal, you are finding yourself the day before or the morning of, or at least 2 hours before that you do something. Maybe you're starting your system, or maybe you're starting your preparation. You're going to do this way before. So when you are doing these 3 steps, what you're showing up as is someone that cares deeply, someone that is committed to their journey of growth, and someone that is actually wanting to create impact, right? For your business, for your bottom line, for your customer, for yourself, and your community. When you can show up like this, your deliveries are going to be amazingly impactful. You're going to enjoy the journey and you're going to get positive feedback. Okay, so that's all I've got for you today. I trust this has been really impactful. This is a very strategic sort of a podcast today, which I think is going to add value for any of you that are here to make an impact. Those of you that are wanting to get in front, take the leadership roles, and go and, really guide others to their greatness. So leave me a comment, give me a review, send me a message, and let me know how I did. What will you do with this information today? Are you going to ask more questions about this to find out how you can apply this? Or is this good enough for you to keep going with? Let me recap it for you so it's nice and tidy in your notes so that you can actually go ahead and implement it. So use a system for whatever the presentation is. The presentations are very different in different contexts. So if you're running a class, what is the system that you follow to actually design the class? Okay, so what sort of content will go inside it will depend on what's the actual class arc. How about if you're delivering a webinar or a workshop or a presentation where you are sharing valuable information that will become part of a decision-making process, then how will you present that information? You can use format. How about if you are doing a sales call? Do you have a sales call that converts, that's a system that converts, that actually connects with the customer's needs, values, dreams, aspirations, and then actually genuinely matches them up with their right fit product? That's a system. So using systems to create your content is first step. The second step is prepare. Have a look through your internal world. What are some of the things that you know will trip you up when you're doing such calls, presentations, deliveries? And go ahead and prepare yourself. Don't leave it to the last minute. Or don't tell yourself that, I'll figure it out. Look after your body, mind, spirit, emotions, and really get on your team. Support yourself to show up as your best self. Write yourself notes. Do what it takes to actually, implement what you need to implement to help yourself succeed. Play this podcast again and listen to what I shared earlier about how to prepare. And then take that preparation to inform your rehearsal and walk yourself through the entire presentation journey. So if it was a full circle from start to finish, what would it look like? What would it feel like? And how would it turn out? Walk yourself through that whole journey with you and your customer. And there you have it. Enjoy, and I will speak to you in the next episode.